my name's Sophie, and I decided to do our third and final speech on a teacher that teaches here at Mesa Community College. So I want to do this speech on her because she's someone who's really important to me and I look up to, considering that I'm an education major, I'm elementary education, and I want to be a teacher, and she really inspires me and pushes me and makes me want to be the best teacher that I can be. So her name is Beth, and she is an education professor here. I want to focus on the type of person she is and what she goes through and still puts a smile on her face. So an article by Pearson states the top 5 qualities of a good teacher are they're very patient, dedicated, engaging, and knowledgeable. Knowledgeable means of, in this case, of how people learn, and then also they are very adaptable in their environment, and then also in developing relationships. So Beth has been teaching for about 18 years, and she's taught in all different types of schools. She's taught in Title I schools, which are schools that receive federal funds from the government. Due to the families of majority of those students are very low income, so that makes the school really hard to teach in when there's not all funding for the school, because teachers need supplies for those kids and just kind of stuff like that. She's also taught in elementary schools, high schools. She's taught in ELL classrooms, which are English language learners, and she also now teaches here at a college. So when Beth first started out teaching, she was teaching in California in a Title I school. As we know, teachers don't make a lot of pay in Arizona, and they also don't make a lot in pay nationwide. Beth was not making a lot of money in her first few years teaching in California, and she also had to deal with the hardships of teaching in a Title I school. So Beth was teaching in a Title I school and an English language learners class, all in her first few years of teaching. Now, a quote by Rachel Engelson stated, a professor of education and sociology, stated that 44% of new teachers leave teaching within 5 years. So they leave due to reasons of the pay, the hardships they endure, the pressure that is put on by parents, administration like principals, and just overall classroom management of the classroom can be really hard, especially when you're teaching students that come from families that have issues or low-income families, and they decide to act out, or they just blatantly don't care. And Beth had to deal with all that her first few years of teaching, and she would tell our classroom stories of what she endured and what she encountered. And she told us the story of this one student she had who would just give her trouble every day, and he would not let up. And it really took a toll on her, especially being a teacher in the first few years. She just she had no idea how to handle it. But Beth is patient, she's dedicated, and she's very knowledgeable of how to approach students, because every student learns differently. And she stayed patient, and she continued to work with that student, continued to work with that class. And in the beginning of the year, that class was ranked the lowest of the school. But Beth didn't give up. She stayed patient, she stayed dedicated, and her class ended up being, I believe, either the first or second class in testing throughout the whole school. I look up to her for this because I know teaching is not always going to be easy, and going through something like that on top of dealing with personal issues is really going to be testing me. But she inspired me, and it makes me even more excited about one day having my own classroom. The second trait that I wanted to and I want to focus on that Beth has is dedication. Beth is dedicated in everything she does in her personal life, in her school life. Every day she comes into class with a smile on her face and dedicated to teaching us. she has a daughter that has medical issues, and separating your personal life and your work life can be very, very difficult, especially when you're going through something with your own kid. But Beth never lets it get to her, and she continues to teach, and she continues to be the best person, and I really look up to her for that. According to the Learning Policy Institute, citing Department of Education, 9% of teachers drop out due to the hardships. So this is after they've been teaching for a little bit. So again, these hardships include like personal life, low income, teaching classes that have really bad classroom management. And Beth has been teaching for quite a few years, and still pursued the major, and now has her doctorate and is very successful and teaches here at Mason Community College. So again, that's just another trait about her that I look up to and inspires me to be the best teacher that I can once I graduate. And the last trait that I want to focus on is Beth is very knowledgeable. So she's knowledgeable in all aspects, but I'm going to focus on the part of knowledgeable on how students learn. So Beth is a very culturally responsive teacher. So she doesn't just take content, teach it one way, and that's it. Whenever one of us has a question, she asks us, how can I approach this for you to understand that? And I think that's really important, because not every student learns the same, not every classroom is the same, and no one learns the same, or no one learns the same. And she's knowledgeable of that, and knowledgeable of different ways to approach each student to make sure that they get the best education possible. Overall, Beth is a great person in school and out of school, and she really inspires me, and those are the main traits about her that inspire me to be the best person and the best educator that I can be. And she's a great person, and yeah, so she's very patient, dedicated, and very knowledgeable, and that's what I look up to her for, on top of everything else about her.